Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys can hear me good. If not, well, hopefully you can at least know what I'm saying, but hopefully you can hear me good. Anyway, without a long introduction, today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 hurricane season. It's going to be my 2023 hurricane season preliminary forecast, my first one, so number one. And hopefully you guys saw that I'm going to be posting daily, every day now, and I will tell you if not, but I'm not going to be taking any more long breaks for hopefully at least the next couple months or at all. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So first we're going to be looking at the climatology forecast models and ENSO outlooks, which is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which you guys probably already know what that is from previous videos, but that's one of the factors determining hurricane activity, which we will get to later in the video. So let's get started. So anyway, first we're going to look at the CFS Bermuda/Azores high setup. This is for July, August, and September. It's the farthest it goes out. This goes from about the early to peak of the season, so it gives us a good idea of what the high setup could look like. I know we're far out, but climatology models, thank goodness, do not change too much, but we'll keep you guys updated, and I'll make more forecasts like this at later dates. But without further ado, we see here that the Bermuda high is at 1,024 millibars. This is around moderate. This allows storms to go through the main development region into Caribbean easily, but does not make them too hard to recurve out to sea. And also, again, hopefully you don't hear any background noise. You shouldn't, or it should be very faint, but just, again, hopefully you don't hear any of that. But anyway, yeah, so this allows systems to not only curve out to sea, but still hit land, giving a big land threat. And then you see the high over Mexico and high in the mid-Atlantic, which sometimes determine storm tracks a bit, but not too much. The CAN-SIP shows 1,025 millibars, which I'm going a little more towards here. Same time frame, July, August, September, which is really going to be the time frame we're using for most to all the graphics in this video. You'll see at the top if we're not. Anyway, moving on. 1,025 millibars is moderate to a little stronger, so storms can curve out to sea, but it's much easier for storms here in the main development region to go into the Caribbean or Caribbean into the Gulf. So systems that form the Caribbean could go into the Gulf or through the Bahamas. Main development regions might have a little bit harder time turning out to sea. But storms can still recurve out to sea, and this still causes land threats too. And another CAN-SIP, 1,027 millibars. 1,027 millibars, sorry. They show in July of 2023. So this is definitely a little bit above average to moderately above average strength for the Bermuda high. This makes it very hard for systems to curve out to sea. Bermuda probably wouldn't get affected that much because of how hard it is to recurve. You see Bermuda is that little island there in the middle to the left of the screen, sorry. But yeah, but this makes a bigger problem for the Caribbean and Gulf because systems in the main development region could easily go into the Caribbean, into the Gulf, or into the East Coast. And Caribbean systems could easily go into the Gulf, Bahamas, and East Coast. Now, again, Caribbean systems do usually always hit land if they can survive, as they are surrounded by land. Anyway, moving on. Let's look at shear. So we see a little around above average shear for the Southern Caribbean and main development region, below average shear for the northeast northeast waters off the coast of the Northeast is what I mean, as well as off the coast of Florida, Cuba. We see below average shear there. CAN-SIPs doesn't really show that much. I'm mainly taking shear off of factors like ENSO and other things because CAN-SIPs and CFS are not very good for shear, but we have to look at them as they are still factors. So CAN-SIP shows above average shear for Southern Caribbean and a little bit of the main development region, but mainly the very northern and northeast main development region. Below average shear in the Bahamas, Cuba, Florida area. CFS, sea surface temperatures. Again, sea surface temperatures, climatology models are There's another climatology model made for sea surface temperatures only, but it only goes out to June and July, not August and September like these. So I don't want to only show the early season. I want to show up to the peak, and I'm trying to not vary my time frames a lot. And again, even then, climatology models, even ones made for sea surface temperatures, are not very good at sea surface temperatures. So I'm mainly using factors like ENSO. But moving on, sorry about that explanation. We see CFS widespread above average sea surface temperatures all around. Again, I have to show this to you guys. I want to maximize the information. I don't want to cherry pick. But I do not think this is going to happen again. ENSO does mainly regulate sea surface temperatures. CANSIPs, again, widespread above average sea surface temperatures. I do not think this is going to happen. Also, sorry for any long explanations in the video. I'll try to cut down on those in this video and future videos later in the video. Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah. So again, we're seeing more average sea surface temperatures in the CANSIPs in the Caribbean and main development region. But I just do not agree with this because ENSO usually can regulate sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic to go above average or below average. We really never see a widespread above average. Even in like La Ninas, which typically give the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf above average sea surface temperatures, even then we do see a lot of areas still below average. So I do not agree with this. And I'm not going to show. I'm not going to show the other model that only is for sea surface temperatures. Again, it's not very good. It's fairly new actually, and I'm only sticking to these two climatology models. I don't want to vary too much, and it's pretty much showing the same thing with the CFS showing it again. It doesn't go very far out, not far enough for this video, mostly at least. Again, sorry about the explanation, but CFS. Total accumulated precipitation. Now, precipitation, of course, does not actually affect hurricanes. Actually, the hurricanes and low pressures affect the precipitation. So if you're wondering why I'm using precipitation parameters, it can kind of show us where the most hurricanes will be. We see East Coast and Gulf, we have areas of above average, but in the Southern Gulf, near the Yucatan, we have below average areas. In the Southern Caribbean, we have below average areas. And again, climatology models are not very good in precipitation, but I mainly use ENSO and other factors for that. And precipitation is not really a driving factor for how hurricanes will develop. That's mainly ENSO and stuff and sea surface temperatures. But still, it shows us how much hurricanes can form. For example, the main development region has some above average areas, but a lot of below average areas too, and much of the outer Atlantic has areas of above average precipitation. Again, this is not affecting my forecast as much because precipitation is not as good as a driver in hurricane forecast for seasons. But hopefully you understood what I just said. But below average precipitation for much of the Caribbean, and really average for pretty much everywhere else, with some areas of above average and below average here and there. And again, sorry for a bit ago when I went on an explanation about models and precipitation. But hopefully you understood. If not, I'm sorry, but hopefully you did. Hopefully I made it easy to understand. Basically, the point is precipitation is not really a driving factor in hurricane season forecasts. That's basically what I was trying to say. Now to end so. Basically, we see here we're in a La Nina, and it goes to a neutral highest chance in around January and February, mainly February. And then that neutral chances peak in March and April. And then it starts to go down. And then in May and June, right before the season starts, to when the season starts on June 1st. It doesn't start on May 15th. That's when forecasts start, but officially it's still June 1st. So right before the season starts and when the season starts, hopefully I'm not talking too fast, by the way. Hopefully you can understand me. But basically, if not, I'll talk slower. Anyway, like right now. But May, June is basically what I'm trying to say, is that's when El Nino probabilities and is going to start going higher than the neutral probabilities. What that means is in May and June, we see where it says MJJ, that El Nino probabilities actually go higher than neutral probabilities. That's basically what I was just trying to say. That explanation. So then, El Nino chances go pretty high, and in August, September, and October, the peak months, and July, August, September, El Nino chances are over 50%. And we see here that many models, like the dynamical average, almost go to +1. These are the newest predictions for ENSO, giving a good chance for an El Nino. And I'm not going to be talking about the Eastern Pacific, but I might talk about that in a later video. We'll see. Now to my graphic. So at sea surface temperature forecast, I'm expecting the main development region to have below average sea surface temperatures, as well as up in the northeast waters. Now, I'm expecting above average sea surface temperatures for the Caribbean and parts of the Gulf is due to these climatology models showing widespread above sea surface temperatures. Again, I said I don't really use that, but they are mainly showing it concentrated in the regions I have highlighted in above average sea surface temperatures, which are those reds, below average, and blues. That's why I am putting them in above average. Now, shear is still going to inhibit because above average shear in the reds, main development region, Caribbean, inhibiting a lot of that storm formation and hurricane formation is what I mean, like tropical cyclone formation. While below average shear for much of the Gulf, northeast waters, and east coast will help tropical development. Above average development I'm expecting in the Gulf and up the east coast, and in the reds, as you saw in those are being inhibited by the SST forecast and the shear forecast I just showed you. That is what goes into making this forecast. And some things like ENSO, below average Caribbean and main development region. Below average activity is what I mean. Especially for the southern Caribbean and central and eastern main development region. Yes, eastern. No, western main development region. Western and central main development region is where we're going to see the most below average activity. Sorry about that pause there. Again, if you're wondering why I'm making a lot of mistakes in this video, it's because, again, I haven't posted in 2 months, and it's a very long video. I wouldn't I'm not restarting it because for most of the video I am doing pretty good, I believe, and it's a very long PowerPoint. So bear with me. If you don't know what I'm saying, hopefully the graphics will show it to you better than I am. Anyway, tropical storm. This is going to show you the tropical storm risk overall. I made this. Now, these colors do not show high risk, moderate risk, and low risk. The reds show above average risk of getting a tropical storm or tropical storm impacts. Orange is average and yellow is below average. So basically, just because you're in below average yellow doesn't mean you're in a low risk of a tropical storm. As an example. So red, of course, you saw the above average activity I'm expecting in the areas close to red, as well as the high pressure is favorable for systems to go into this region, especially what I showed you with CANSIP showing 1,027 millibars. So we see Florida up the east coast, Cuba, Bahamas, Haiti, Jamaica, and northern Yucatan. The high won't really affect the western and central Gulf. That's why they're at just a moderate average risk for tropical storms, and low risk for the yellow because, of course, high shear in that areas. And for northern area, pretty much the whole area in tropical storms, because later in the season, very strong high will allow systems to recurve and go all the way up to the east coast, as well as below average shear and above average sea surface temperatures in these regions. The hurricane. So basically, above average sea surface temperatures and below average shear in those northern areas, as well as a pretty strong high, especially shown by the CANSIPs, will allow Florida, parts of the East Coast, Bahamas, Cuba, Bermuda, and the tip of the Yucatan to have above average hurricane probabilities. Much of the Gulf, as well as Haiti and places near there, won't be affected as much by those factors. They're at a regular risk for hurricanes, and the hurricane impacts. And the reason they and being hit by hurricane as well. The reason they're not above average is because of the above average shear. It'll be a little harder for systems to strengthen. And then yellow is below average. Of course, the shear will inhibit a lot of that strengthening and formation in those regions. Hurricane. And again, sorry if I'm messing up a lot again. I haven't posted in 2 months, but the graphics will tell you. Anyway, and again, a lot of you people do not watch the full video. Most of you don't. That's fine. But if you did, kudos to you. Comment if you did. If you saw this. Anyway, hurricane. Again, I'm laughing. I like to make my videos a little funny, not serious like everyone else, because to my opinion, that can get annoying. Sorry, but red. Above average hurricane probabilities. Even up to New Jersey, those recurvatures are really going to help them there. Orange, moderate, and of course, in the northern regions, there's always, it's even in above average sea surface temperatures, it's still pretty cold, and so quickly goes to a below average chance of hurricanes, especially with less storms forming this year, which I'll get to in a second. Now, of course, finale, major hurricanes. Category 3 to 5, the strongest of the strongest. I made that sound weird, but I am expecting major hurricanes this year, if you're wondering. Even with the below average season, which that's a little spoiler to my forecast in a second. But above average chances of major hurricane and major hurricane impacts in the red. Parts of Cuba, central and western Cuba, the western Bahamas, Florida Peninsula, parts of the Florida Big Bend, and up the East Coast, of course, due to the strong high below average here in those areas and above average sea surface temperatures. And of course, near there, we're going to have moderate or average chances of major hurricanes like Bermuda. And then, of course, with the above average shear and hard development in the Caribbean, and they're going to have below average chances of major hurricane. Not exactly low chances, but below average chances. And of course, the Yucatan Peninsula is mainly in a low chance. Of course, they usually never get major hurricanes. And it's that dip there in between Mexico City and Guatemala City, if you're wondering where that is. Major hurricane. Due to less systems, majority of the area is going to be in below average chances of major hurricanes. And again, this area usually never gets major hurricanes. Up to central and northern New Jersey is around an average chance of major hurricanes. And up to northern North Carolina is a above average chance of major hurricanes. Now, we'll get to my overall forecast in a second. But these, the Bermuda High will be strongest in June, July. Meaning system, so this meaning systems will easily be able to hit land. These are my potential long track, land affecting tracks. So systems that can hit land for the MDR and Caribbean systems. MDR in black and Caribbean systems in blue. So we see systems will easily be able to go north into places like Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, and the Yucatan. Again, that doesn't mean they'll exactly be strong, but they'll easily be able to go to the regions. Main development region, because of the strong high early on in the season, especially showed by canned sips, they won't really be able to recurve, but they'll be able to go to places like the Carolinas, maybe up the southern East Coast, into Florida, Texas, Yucatan, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and the Leeward Islands. August and September, if you're wondering what the blue thing is in the top left and the yellow thing near the top and the bottom right, it's just a PowerPoint filter. If you're wondering, yes, this is on a PowerPoint. Easiest for all of us. And it would be a more pleasant way of y'all viewing it. But anyway, coming out to be a very long video. So, August to September 2023. Pretty strong Bermuda High, but much weaker. Systems in the MDR will be able to go into Leeward Islands, Haiti, still, and northern Cuba, but they'll be much easier able to turn up the East Coast into the Carolinas, but still into Florida, and even still places like Louisiana. While Caribbean systems will easily be able to go into Yucatan and Texas, Cuba, and Florida, and even systems up the East Coast. October, November, and of course, I'm not going to do December or before June because those are off season months, of course. But anyway, Bermuda High will be a little average to a little below average. Only the canned sips showed this far out, but CFS is expected to show it, and again, this video is long, so I didn't want to show those because it would make the video even longer. So we see systems are able to go to Florida from the Caribbean and Louisiana, but mainly going out to sea into the Carolinas up the East Coast towards Bermuda. Main development region systems maybe into Haiti and Leeward Islands, but mainly up the East Coast at the most west, but mainly out to sea curvatures and into Bermuda. If you're wondering what these red, orange, yellow, green stuff, that is the favorability of systems going through that area. So green, more favorable for systems to go through the area due to the high being less effective, and the red, oh no, I meant more favorable, and the red is going to be less favorable for systems to go through the area due to a high effect. So, of course, you see in the top right, it's red because the high is there, so systems can't really go through there, but it's green in much of the main development region because the high is not stopping systems from going through those areas. Finally, before we get to my actual forecast, again, sorry for all the mistakes in this video. I'm really sorry. I do not want to restart because I don't want to post this video too late, and I've already made most of the video, but hopefully I have not... the mistakes are hopefully widespread enough in the video to where you understand what I'm talking about. Hopefully you do. Anyway, tropical cyclone category, and the graphics can pretty much give you what I'm saying quicker. But for everybody who doesn't understand fully, which is totally fine, most of you don't, and that's totally fine. That's why I explained it to you. And again, I will improve in future videos. With tropical storm category formation areas, what this means is where systems could form of certain categories. So blue, tropical depression, anywhere in that blue or in any of the higher categories, tropical depressions are able to go through that area without being torn apart. Tropical storm are more south because north of the tropical storm area are colder waters, and it's a little harder to support development there. And the reason why in none of my graphics, the top right towards the UK and Europe is any colors, it's because those are usually extratropical storms. I don't really want to make a graphic for the low chance that one is actually still tropical or subtropical, especially with a below average season, which again is a sneak peek to my official preliminary prediction. Of course, it will be updated in a second. Tropical storm, so yeah, mainly like parts of the northeast and south. Hurricanes are mainly like parts of Louisiana, like New Orleans, all the way to Florida, up to the Carolinas, into the Leeward Islands, Cuba, Haiti. And major hurricanes are mainly in Cuba, parts of the Bahamas, and Haiti. This is where they could form, of course, major hurricanes. Will most likely not only be in the purple area. Like, if a major hurricane forms in the purple area, it'll most likely survive longer than that. Oh, I forgot about this graphic, too. Sorry, guys, PowerPoint is very long, so I'm forgetting about most of the slides. Again, it's 31 slides, so sorry about that. So yeah, that's why I keep saying in a second. You'll see my predictions. I keep forgetting about all these slides. But anyway, we see these are preliminary season summary. Little activity in the main development region. We'll still see most of the systems forming there, but little activity compared to average. Strongest storms in the green because of major hurricanes. Because even though the Caribbean will be below average, major hurricanes and the strongest storms usually come out of the Caribbean. Average mainly in the Western Gulf. You really saw in those graphics how they were mainly, like especially in the landfall chances, they were mainly in the average section. They're not going to be affected too much. More landfalls for Bermuda and, say, Louisiana and west, or Cuba and north. And some of these colors will be overlapping, like more landfalls and stronger storms. Like if you're in Cuba, you'll be getting the strongest storms potentially, but you'll also be getting more landfalls. Now, these are my, I'll get to numbers in a second, but actually in a second, because next is my last graph. I'm expecting 60% chance of below average activity, a 30% chance of average activity, and 10% chance of above average activity. The reason above average landfalls is because the high could be stronger than expected, making systems from the MDR and Caribbean easily go to hit land, or easier. And so we see this same probabilities there. I'm expecting 11 to 15 named storms, 5 to 8 hurricanes, 2 to 4 major hurricanes. This will likely change. This will definitely change, or likely change, as newer data is presented. But hopefully, it won't change that much, as climatology models usually don't change that much. And so forecasts can fluctuate a lot. So we'll see how that happens. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Sorry. I wanted to pull up this last slide. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, sorry for the mistakes. Hopefully you understood what I'm saying. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Bye.